Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom, brothers and sisters. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. This particular presentation, brothers and sisters, is not going in intention to be long. Nonetheless, what we want to go over, brothers and sisters, is a matter regarding the language within the scriptures itself. So, without any further ado, brothers and sisters, and giving honor to the Most High, the Creator and Maker of heaven and earth, let us get into this, if we will. Giving honor to the Creator of heaven and earth. Ezekiel 16, 10 through 14. Hebrew and English for the Hebrew class. Let us go on. Ezekiel 16, verse 10. I clothe thee with richly woven work, and shod thee with sealskin, and I wound fine linen about, and I wound fine linen about thy head, and covered thee with silk. So, what are we looking at in this particular case, brothers and sisters? Hebrew, we must remember, is read from right, as we see here, just showing that bold, if we will, right? To left. Wa'al bishek rikuma wa'en alik takash wa'ek bashek bashesh wa'akasek meshi. All right, so let's look at this very carefully. What we're going to deal with in showing is that this wow we see here at the beginning of such, brothers and sisters, serves as a prefix. And this aleph we see here, brothers and sisters, all right, that shows it to be in the first person. In the future tense, the aspect of the pronouns is put as a prefix. Wa'al bishik. This comes from the root word, all right, labash. That's what we want to focus on in this case, in many cases, is the aspect of the verbs and the identification of such. All right. So let's look, if we will. Thank you for that. The word labash, brothers and sisters, means to wear. The word al-bishek means I caused you to wear, or I put upon you, or I dressed you. Now, this kasofit we see here, brothers and sisters, if we will, in the green, right, shows it to be in the aspect of a suffix. So when we see the, as we see here, color coding it in this green, we see that same thing here. The word labash as presented, brothers and sisters, means, sorry about that. The word labash means to wear or to put on. All right. Al-bish is the Hefil stem of it, meaning to cause one to wear something. So let us look at this for edification purposes, if we will, brothers and sisters, right? The word we see here, okay, is the word labash. The word labash means to wear. That is a verb, okay? So I wanted to sit there and go over this in the aspect of looking at it from the verb case. So now when we go back here and we see the lamed, the bet, and the resh, pardon me, the lamed, the bait, and the sheen, right? Lamed, bait, sheen, labash, meaning to wear, if we will. Let us now look, brothers and sisters, at this particular word for edification purposes, if we will, right? Thank you for bearing with the time. Want to show how Hebrew works in this case. Toda Rabbah for that. Let's look at this word here. Hilbish means to clothe, because you're causing one to wear something. The word hilbish is the root of the word we see here, albish. And we already explained that this kaf, making a K sound, all right, is a suffix meaning the or you. So now if we were to take away the aspect, let me just copy and paste this and show what I'm talking about, if we will, right? We want to enlarge this. Again, thank you for the time, right? If we were to take away this wow, right? And we were to take away this kasofit, we will have the word here, brothers and sisters, the word alabish. Now, we still see the lamed, the bait, and the sheen in there. That, brothers and sisters, comes from the root word hilabish, meaning to clothe. So now when we go back to Ezekiel 16:10, I clothe thee. This kasofit signifies thee. It's called putting the pronouns together with the verb itself. All right. So now, this, brothers and sisters, which we're going to sit there and show bold right here, is in the qual stem. This right here, which we're going to show, brothers and sisters, inside of it being blue, is in the Hefil stem. The distinction between the Hefil and the qual, we see qual here, Hefil here, is the qual is the simple walk, dress, talk. Whereas the Hefil stem of it is the causative of the qual. So now, not only does labash under the qual stem, meaning to put on or to wear, its causative is to clothe one. Wa al bishik, and I clothe thee. All right. Rikmah wa an alik takash, and shadi with seal skin. So again, we want to use this word here, if we will, and I'm going to, in due respect, nonetheless, pick on this. When I say pick, I don't mean bother. All right. But we're going to use this word here, brothers and sisters, wa'al bishek, and we're going to make this all the same color, all right, for reason and purposes. Now, this wow is and. Al-bish means I will close. Al-bishek, and I will clothe you. What happens in biblical Hebrew is a thing called, and I want to type this in, if we will, brothers and sisters, all right? For reason and purposes. It is referred to as the wow consecutive, right? What happens in that is that the future tense word becomes past and the past becomes future. All right, be it whatever stem it is, be it the qual stem, the nephal stem, the pl stem, the pu'al stem, the hefil, the hofal, or the hepal stem, regardless of whatever stem it is, the while consecutive works in that particular fashion. All right, so al-bish literally would mean I will clothe. Al-bishek means I will clothe you. But with the aspect in biblical Hebrew, and we want to show this particular while, all right, in red. This is a prefix, but in biblical Hebrew too, it shows it as the aspect of it. Future tense word is now turned into past tense. If there's any questions, please feel free to comment inside of the section there. So these are things we just want to point out in that particular case. All right. Then it goes on to say, and I warned thee about thy head, found linen about thy head. All right. Well, ak bashek bashesh, and covered thee with silk. Wa akasek meshi. The word for linen, brothers and sisters, is the word shesh. And we're going to show this, brothers and sisters, in the aspect of bolding it. All right. We want to bold that part. Oh, that didn't work. Bashesh. Let me go back to the board. Salika about that. If we will. Toda for that. I'm going to just take this off into the next part. Sorry about that. Look at this here. I wanted to emphasize something about this word. Thank you for that, brothers and sisters. This word here, ashesh. The word here, sheen and sheen, is the same word shesh, meaning six, as in the number six. But shesh also means linen. All right. So with that being the case, we want to emphasize and promote our vocabulary use in Hebrew, if we will. All right. Wa akasek meshi. And we're going to pick on this other one right here. All right. Look at the copy parts. And brothers and sisters, as stated, if there's any questions or comments concerning this, do not hesitate to speak upon it inside of the comment section here. All right. Wa akasek. This wow, again, serves as the wow consecutive. All right. And what happens with that, if we will, you have wow consecutive, the past to future and future to past tense. All right. Now, the word kasa, and I'm going to go back to the board to get it written out, if we will, right? That is the letter Kaf, the letter Samek, and the letter Hey, as we see here. The word here, Kasa, brothers and sisters, this means to cover. Okay? So we notice, brothers and sisters, the letter Hey is there, which we're going to show in bold, but we don't see the letter Hey nowhere in the word Wa'akasik. That is because the letter Hey drops out when it's conjugated in the particular future tense. All right? So that's something we want to show upon for evidence purposes. All right. Now, this kaf we see here, which we're going to show, all right, for conversation purposes in the red, just like the kaf, so feet or so, that we see here, shown in the green, it serves, brothers and sisters, as a suffix, meaning you. So I want to sit there and take the time out now, if we will. All right. A kaf at the end of a verb means it is a pronoun. All right. So what do I mean? Well, akasik, this means this k sound at the end signifies you. Okay. So with that being the case, when you have a kaf sofit, as we see here, brothers and sisters, at the end of a noun, it shows possession. Let me explain what I mean by saying such. All right. A kaf at the end of a noun shows possession, such as yad ka. Yad meaning hand. Yad ka meaning your hand. All right. So we just want to just go over a couple of verbs, a couple of nouns, and to show how biblical Hebrew works in this particular case. All right. Let us go on in this. Ezekiel 16, verse 11. I deck thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck. So, what are we going to sit there and say with this? And I deck thee with ornaments. Why, edek, edi. Edi means ornaments or gems, if we will. All right. Why, etna, and I put and I place. Zamidim. The word zamid means bracelet. Al yadayik. Well, rabid al geronek. So there's just a couple of words we want to take from this, brothers and sisters. And let us look at this one right here. All right. And we're going to copy this and go on to the next slide and make notes concerning this. All right. Going to expand this, if we will. But let's look. You have this word here, which is said as wah. Wa'etna. Okay, now this, brothers and sisters, comes, if we will, from the Hebrew root word, and we're going to go back to the board and get the spelling for such. Thank you for that. It comes from this word here. The word natan. The word natan, all right, in Hebrew means to give in verb. All right. Natan, said by some as Nathan, means in root to give. Okay, so Now, when we go back to Ezekiel here, I deck thee also with ornaments and put bracelets on our hands, on your hands. This I put is also coming from wa'etna, meaning I put or I gave or I placed. All right. So let's understand that for reference purposes. So the root word natan or nathan means to give in root. All right. Now this letter here, all right, and we want to copy that, is the letter Aleph. The letter Aleph is the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Okay. So now this is a prefix in future tense words. All right. So if we take off the wow in the Aleph, you got the Tana. That's what you got, Tana. Now, what happens in this particular case, and this is why we want to go over and expound upon this matter. The word Natan, brothers and sisters, begins with the letter Nun. All right? The letter Nun in verbs is a pay noon verb. What happens with a pay noon verb in the future tense, the noon drops out. So now the future tense, the noon that we normally would see here, and we're going to color code this, all right? That noon drops out, brothers and sisters. So then you have the word just as the tau, the noon, and the suffix of the letter hey. And it still comes from the root word natan. So whether or not it's verbally stated or whether it's typed in or so, it is just as important, brothers and sisters, to know for reason and purposes. So we're going over, in this particular case, a good amount of vocabulary, rules and grammar, verb structures, and so forth and so on regarding the Hebrew. All right. So again, and as before, right? If there are any questions concerning this subject matter, please do not hesitate to sit there and ask upon it inside of the comment section. I want to give a shout out to the people, Sarai, Michaela from the house of Judah, Shabbat Shalom to you, and the brother Silas El Nekemya, Todah and Todah to the Most High on the human level, Todah for taking your time out to listen to the presentation. All right, so in review, real quick, this wild sirs, wah means and in Hebrew. This letter you see here, we're going to color code this as before, but we are going to color code this the blue there. And this is the same letter here. We're going to also color code this and the blue there. This serves as a prefix in future tense words. The letter noon in verbs is a pay noon verb, as we pointed out. So as we see here, we're going to bold part that aspect. That noon that you see there in the red, remember in Hebrew goes from right to left. Brothers and sisters, this means that the noon drops out. That's why you don't see a noon between these two letters here that's just being bold typed. If you're looking at the screen. The second noon we see here is a noon sophite, which we're going to bold part right now and show for reason and purposes. So this noon becomes this noon, which we're going to bold part for reason and purposes. All right, so we just want to show how that works for edification reasoning. Let's go on, if we will, brothers and sisters, back to this and want to point out something here. All right. Let's look at this word here, if we will, brothers and sisters. Yadayik. This word means your hands. Now, in Ezekiel 16, the Most High is addressing the Most High as his wife. So that's why you see Yadayik and not Yadeka, meaning okay, so I just want to point that out. But what we want to emphasize, as we stated, brothers and sisters, over here, a kaf at the end of a noun shows possession. So the kaf here showing possession, brothers and sisters, is shown right here with this kaf, Sophie, showing possession. So what do we mean as showing bow type, bow type, bow type, bow type? So what do we mean? And we want to put it right here and show it in a darker color. Sorry. What do we mean by possession? Is mine, yours, his, hers. Let us remember these rules in grammar once it comes down to the language, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. In this channel, Moreh Yeshaya Torah Lessons, there are Hebrew classes. There are also Hebrew classes that are pre-recorded and live on Moreh Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. I'm going to type that in, and I'm going to ask the people, please share the channel and subscribe to it. All right? So that will be inside the description. But for those interested, Moreh Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons. And that goes everywhere from Aleph Bet all the way to the advanced Hitpael stem. All right, so we just want to go over that about how to properly say sister in Hebrew is akot. And my sister is akoti. It's not my akot. Because the letter S in Hebrew is not a aspect of pluralizing a word. All right, so let's understand that. Let's go on to the next part. All right. And I put a ring and I put a ring upon thy nose and earrings in thy ears and a beautiful crown on your head. So let's look at this, brothers and sisters. All right. All right. What attain, brothers and sisters? And I put, placed. How do we get the I in that particular case? All right, is this. You have it to where the aleph serves as a prefix, as we stated earlier. And we remember, okay, that this word here, I'm gonna have to go back to the board for this one. Thank you for the time. All right. And I see the question that somebody asked. Can I explain the pay noon verb? And thank the creator. It's the perfect time for that, because that's what we got to talk about right now. All right. Pay noon verb. A verb that has a first letter as the noon. It drops in the future tense. That's how a pay noon operates. Sometimes you find some books saying that these are called irregular verbs, but I, as a brother and as a said Moreh, I do not call it irregular because it's part of our language. So it's not irregular. It just may not be the norm, but it's not to be castigated as irregular verbs. No, it's just what it is. And that's how I particularly teach that. So hopefully that answered your question about the explanation of pay noon verbs. In the future tense, it drops out. So now when we see the word here, all right, the word attain, comes from the root word natan. All right, so let's go into this. Thank you for that question. I appreciate it. All right. Attain comes from the word, all right, comes from the word natan. Natan in root means to give. Attain means I will give. So if you remember, brothers and sisters, that in verbs, this aleph, as we pointed out earlier, serves as a prefix. All right. Wa etin nezem. The word nezem means nose jewel. And that's what I used as the thumbnail for this particular video. A nose jewel. All right. Al apik, a nose jewel or a jewel on your nose. All right. This kasofit serves, and we want to show this is color coded and explain what we're saying. All right. That kasofit that I just showed there in the red, right? That serves as your whatever. Because the word op, brothers and sisters, means nose. All right. Apik means your nose. Apka is your nose if you're speaking to a male. So we want to go over the aspect of showing what are the prefixes and the suffixes and how it works within what we understand as biblical Hebrew, which is the oldest Hebrew that we have. All right. So once it comes down to that, all right. I wanted to make this a little bigger. Okay. Now, what agilim al az nayik. The word agil, brothers and sisters, means ring or earring, more so earring. All right. Sadly, when they bring the Ark of the Covenant, that's the word that you see there. Agile ha'anashim wa nashim, the earrings of the men and of the women. All right. The word agil means earring. So now we know how to say nose. We know how to say nose jewel. We know how to say earring. And then we're going to deal with this word here. I got to go back to the board for this because this I want to emphasize on, brothers and sisters. Again, thank you for the time for the people to go into this with me as so. Here is something we want to point out, if we will, for edification purposes. Let's go back here. All right. Pull this back up. And we have the word ozen. Now, this word here, ozen, to build your vocabulary, means ear. So what can we glean from this so far? Ozen is a noun. So when we see this word here, aznaik, brothers and sisters, this kasofit that we're going to show in the red, as we've been doing, again serves as a aspect of it being your whatever. That's why we see here, as it says, thine or your ears. All right. Azen, ozen means ear. Okay. So that's what we want to point out. So we want to also, while working on this, if we will, I'm going to go back to the board. All right. To get into the language hard body, if we will. All right. If people are taking out the time, we want to give the people something worth their time, if we will. And I appreciate it for such. Speaking about ear and hearing and so forth and so on, I want to mention something in a second that happened that I spoke with a beautiful friend of mine concerning this subject. This here is the word he'ezim. This is a verb meaning to hear. So what do we see? The aleph, the zayin, and the noon. Ozen meaning ear. He'ezim, the aleph, the zayin, and the noon. And we're going to color code what we're talking about. All right? To show its connection for edification purposes. All right? Here we see Ozen in this particular aspect. Right? And we see the Nun Sophite right here. So what can we gather from that, brothers and sisters? Let's pay attention. Ozen, ear. He'ezim, to the verb meaning to hear. What do we go over here, brothers and sisters? The word alabish. And it comes from, well, I already erased it, but the word labash means to wear. All right? Alabish means to clothe. We went over the Heathfield stem earlier. Okay? And this again, brothers and sisters, is the Heathfield stem, meaning to hear. Last night, I did a presentation on this channel, not being perfect myself, about people who play games. What do I mean by that? There are Israelites who are saying that, in so many words, we can go to work on the Shabbat because, well, we don't have any offerings to do. We can't make any offerings. So therefore, because we can't, and there are offerings required on Shabbat, then we can't keep Shabbat. So those kind of people go to work on Shabbat. Last night, I spoke upon that matter and stated they who do so are basically trying to not keep the commandments and are playing games with the Most High. About an hour before I started this presentation, I got a phone call from the company I work with. And they said, hey, are you able to come into work? Now, I know that'll be overtime, but I already know that this time on Shabbat, not tooting my horn, is already called upon by the Most High. So that could have been a test to see if you're going to use your ozen, your ear, to do the ma'azin, the hearing of the commandments. Because just last night, I was saying they who would teach that you can't keep the Shabbat are they who are playing games with the Most High. Less than 24 hours after that presentation last night, I get a call from the company I'm with asking me to go in to work for a shift that starts at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, but I'm unable to make it. I can't go in. Don't you think the Most High listens to you when you're teaching about his book and his words that he sent through his prophets online? Don't you think the Most High is doing the ma'azin, the listening to, the hearing of, when you say, giving honor and praise unto Yah, the creator and the maker of heaven and earth? You know how humans say, keep my name out of your mouth? Well, we as Israelites, we stay with the name of the Most High, Yah, in our mouth. So just as much as us say as humans, when someone talks about us, we want to know what that person is doing and saying. So not to be haughty, not that I never ever broke Shabbat observance, because I have. I'm not going to play holier than thou. But there's no way that the Most High is looking out for a young brother or a brother, because I don't think I'm young anymore, but everyone tells me I am. But there's no way that the Most High is looking out for one, and less than 24 hours and speaking on it, I'm going to go into work on the Shabbat. That will be wickedness. When the Most High makes sure he has you and shows you that he is covering you, he's doing, as we will say in this aspect here, all right? Where is it at? Here. I clothe thee with richly woven work and shod thee with sealskin, and I found linen upon thy head, and I covered thee with silk. Once the Most High let you know he's covering you and he's protecting you and causing certain things to work in your favor, don't disrespect the Most High by saying, thank you, Yah, now I'm going to go do my own thing. Don't do that. It says, commit your works unto Yah, and your thoughts shall be established. Not so much to not say, commit your thoughts unto Yah, and your works will be established. But that's not saying that that's not true. But it says, say, commit your works, the things that you do to the Most High, and your thoughts will be established, because the Most High already knows what your thoughts are. So when you're already putting that work in regards with the creator of heaven and earth, the willing heart to want to do whatever you're able to do in the name of the Most High. The Most High watches it and prospers it or falls it. Prospers it or cause it to drop. We have to make sure, brothers and sisters, that we're staying in the right path. When the Most High blesses you with someone in your life and in your circumference that's of peace, say like the Most High blessed Adam with Eve. Your job was to keep the garden and to dress it. Not to sit there and eat of everything that's in there. So we just want to point that out for edification purposes. Getting back into this, I hope the explanation about the Peinun made sense, if we will. All right? Let's look at this. Ezekiel 16:13. Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen and silk and richly woven work. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, and thou didst wax exceedingly beautiful, and thou wast meet for royal estates. Watadi, Zahab, Wakesef. Wa Umal Bushek, Shesh, Umeshi, Warikmah, Solet, Udbash, Shemen, Akat, Watipi, Bim Od Me Od, Wa Tit Lachi, Lim Luka. What does this mean, brothers and sisters, in going over this? Thou was decked with gold and silver, and we're going to color code the vocabulary because this is what we want to do with this particular slide is get into the vocabulary. Gold. The word for gold is zahab. All right, that's what that is in this particular case. Gold is zahab. Then we have silver. The word for silver, brothers and sisters, is the word kesef, as we see here. Many times people say kesef means money, but kesef is actually a color, meaning silver. Okay? Umal bushik, shesh, and thy raiment. We have there in the purple. Umal bushik. We have here in the purple. What can we glean from that? Let us look, if we will, right? Wa'al bishik. Now, earlier, brothers and sisters, we went over the word to wear, right? And we're going to go back to the board here to retrieve the other word that we used, all right? Here we see the word ilbish, all right? To clothe. We explained, brothers and sisters, that the word hilbish, all right, if we will, that, brothers and sisters, is a he-filled verb stem. And what does that emphasize in that particular case? All right? That is the causative, all right, of that. So if I clothe you, I am causing you to wear. We have, brothers and sisters, as pointed out, we got to go back to the board. Thank you for bearing me with that. All right, we have the word labash, lamed, bait, and sheen. The word labash, brothers and sisters, as we see here, we want to show what we're talking about, please. All right, labash, to wear. Hilbish, the lamed, the bait, the sheen is still there. All right, means to clothe. Labash, to wear. This is your qual stem. All right, this is your heath stem. So the heath eel is the causative of the qual stem in most cases in that particular matter. So now let's go back to the slide where we was at number 8. And we see this word here. All right, so showing how Hebrew works in this particular case. All right. We have the word here. We're going to show it in a different color or bold it. Right. We're going to show it in black and bold. And this is mal bush shake. Now, brothers and sisters, the word malbush by itself means raiment or clothing. We already emphasized that this kaf like or this kasofit, all right? We want to enlarge this. That this kasofit serves as a suffix when dealing with a noun. All right? This means clothes, like a garment. All right? And then you got the kasofit meaning your whatever. Because this is a noun. Had it been a verb, it would have meant you at the end. But because it's a noun, it means your whatever. Okay? So with the time allotted, what can we gather from this? You still got brothers and sisters, and we're going to color code this once again, if we will. Right? We still got the lamet, the bait, and the sheen. You notice how that doesn't drop in that particular case? So what we're talking about is prefixes and suffixes. What we're talking about is verbs. What we're talking about is nouns. What we're talking about is the he fill stem as well as brothers and sisters. I don't know why this is giving me a hard time to make that red. But we're going to color code that red and then make this wow again, because that wow serves in as what you call an injection in Hebrew. All right. It's not bad. It just is what that is with that. Okay. All right. So now we still got Lamed Beit Sheen. Lamed Beit and Sheen. All right. We want to do it like this, if we will. Okay. So showing this verbatim, meticulous, if we will. And then we got this. Lamed Beit Sheen red. Lamed Beit Sheen red. Lamed Beit Sheen red. Labash. This word here, malbush, meaning cloth or garment. It's a noun. So this kasofit we want to shows it to be in possession, as we expounded upon earlier. Do we see how in these particular classes what we want to go is by step to showing, not trying to ever place sales on the Shabbat, But as pointed out in the book that I wrote called Hebrew is Easy, this is what we want to show how easy or simple Hebrew is. It's not difficult, it's different. But once you understand its pattern and have an understanding of such, it's very, very easy. It's just studying the pattern and how things work. Now let's look at this. Malbush, meaning cloth or garment, right? This mem, brothers and sisters, all right? Because what we're going to do is this. We're going to take this word right here, right? We're going to copy it. And we're going to go back to this here. And we're going to look at this word here and expound upon this, if we will, hard body. All right? We're going to make this all black again. Nothing racial, just is what it is. And expound upon it in this particular matter. All right? Malbush. Meaning garment, cloth, and it is a noun. Okay, so with that being the case, you will have malbushi, meaning my garment. Malbushka, your garment was speaking to a male. Ezekiel 16, the Most High addressing Israel as his wife, it will be malbushek. Then you have malbusho, his garment or his cloth. Malbusha, her garment or her clothes. So we begin to see how easy the simplistic matter is. So brothers and sisters, going back, all right, up here, if we will, and we want to look at this word again. If you ain't getting nothing else, please, let's get that word labash. But we want to gain more than that, but just want to use that as a standard, if we will. You learn the word labash, okay? And so let's look at that. Labash, a verb meaning to wear. That's the cross stem as we went over before. But what do we notice between, right? If we look at labash and we want to make this bigger, okay? Labash to this word here. The word here, sorry about that. The word here, malbush. Do we notice something? And I think we do, but I want to point out things, if we will, all right? We want to make this bigger. And thank you again for the patience and the time as I go through this meticulously as possible. All right? Abash to malbush. We still got the lamed, the bait, the sheen. All right? You still, brothers and sisters, have the lamed, the bait, the sheen. LBSH. 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 That letter mem, if we will, brothers and sisters, the letter mem serves in Hebrew. All right. And we want to go over here, look in this, copy the letter mem, become very important. And I did a shout out video to someone who was a friend of my mother, may my mother rest in peace. And there's a lady named Imam Miriam, and I did a video in her honor because I remember being a child in a congregation called Kosheri in the Bronx when I used to be able to ask her like any kind of question I wanted, and she always was accessible regarding Hebrew and so on. All right. So let's look at this here. And we're going to take the time out now. Shout out to, again, the sister Sarah Michaela. Shout out to Silas, El Nehemiah. Shout out to Adonia, Kanan, Yirmiyahu, Yehuda. I think I asked you, brother, about Blue Mountain in Jamaica. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then shout out to Bat Yisrael. She wrote, Shabbat Shalom, More Yeshaya, or Mishpachah. All praise APTTMY, MHY. All praise to the Most High Yah. also stated by the sister Sarah. All praise to the Most High Yah. Yes, because he is the dispenser of knowledge. You'll understand. So let's look at this mem right here, right? Mem serves as a prefix in verbs and nouns. And it means of or from. All right. So the word labash, as we've been pointing out, as we see here, all right, you get the word malbush. So you get from labash to malbush. Malbush means, as stated, a garment or a piece of raiment or cloth. All right, that which you put on. But the prefix of this mem turns this noun, turns this verb into a noun. This happens many times in Hebrew. Once we get into the subject matter, if we will. Are there any questions concerning labash, malbush, the hef il stem, or the qual stem, as we were talking about? Now, those who are familiar with Hebrew, you know good and well, because the hef il stem is used in the book of Genesis a lot. Whereas the most commonly used stem is the qual stem. All right. So just want to point that out for reasonable purposes. All righty. Let's go on into this particular part. And thy renown went forth among the nations for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my splendor, which I have put upon thee, saith the Lord God. Wayetze lak shin wa bagoyim bayap yek ki kalil hu ba hadari ashel samti alayik. So what do we want to point out in these couple of aspects here with verbs and nouns and so forth and so on is this, if we will, right? We went there. All right, let's look at this here. All right. We have here, brothers and sisters, the word Wayet Zeh. We want to make this enlarged. All right. Means, and it went out. Okay. This, brothers and sisters, comes from the root word, and we're going to go back to the board for this one, if we will. All right. Let's look at this here. You have the letter Yod, the letter Zadeh, and the letter Aleph. All right, let's look at this right here. This is what we want to go over and show for reasonable purposes. We want to put this in Times New Roman. All right. Yat za, meaning en route, to go out. Now, what can we gather about the letters we see there? Sorry. Yatza. This word is a pay yod verb and a lamed aleph verb. Now, I'm just going to state this here. A payod verb is any verb that starts with the letter yod. A lamed aleph verb is any verb that ends with the letter aleph. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to put the H there because they don't end with a hey. All right, just put yatsa like that. I was going to leave it like that. Okay, now, this word here, because it begins with a yod and ends with an aleph, it, brothers and sisters, is both a payod verb, which is a verb that begins with the letter yod, and it is a lamed aleph verb because it ends with the letter aleph. These are things we just want to show for reference purposes. This verb here, brothers and sisters, this is in the past stem for reasoning purposes, if we will. All right, now, Let us look and see what else we can gather from this. All right. Brothers and sisters, the word wayetze, this word here, we want to expound upon, if we will. All right. And what? All right. The wow in the beginning is a prefix. We already expounded earlier on the wow consecutive, called the wow hakipuk by some. And in biblical Hebrew, the word yitzay means he will go out. It means he will go out. But as we expounded upon earlier, the wow consecutive makes that word yitzay, which is usually a future tense word, a now past tense word. This is why Ezekiel says, and thou now went forth. It went forth. Went is the past tense of will go. So that's why we want to emphasize that for edification purposes. Are there any questions concerning this? I'm going to sit there and make another empty box here. All right. A wow, and leave it in caps if we will. Okay. Consecutive verb is what causes the verb in the future tense to be in the past tense and the past tense into the future tense. This is commonly used in biblical Hebrew. It's not used in classical Hebrew or rabbinic Hebrew or quote unquote modern Hebrew. And by the way, modern Hebrew is not Yiddish. We expounded upon that on the channel numerous times. Just put it like this. The Hebrew word for brother is this here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about real quick, because sometimes he's teaching Yiddish. No, I'm not. The Hebrew word for brother is this word here, ak. So here we look at this here. Brothers and sisters, ak means brother. The Yiddish word for brother is bruder. So no, we're not teaching Yiddish on this channel. All right. So just want that to be noted. Now, okay, so with that having been covered, let's move on. All right. We want to make some notes with this. Any verb that starts with a letter yod is a yod verb. Any verb that starts with a letter noon is a noon verb. Now what happens with that, brothers and sisters, is okay, let me explain what happens with that. With that, the yod or noon, which it starts with, drops in the future tense. And this here, I'm just going to state. So let's look back at this, if we will, right? Wayetze, from the word yatsa, meaning in root to go out. So now you have the word wayetze, means and it went out. Third person masculine, singular. Wayetze, the wow in the beginning is a prefix, meaning and. Okay? Now, we just stated here, because I want to not cause confusion. We just stated here that when any verb starts with the letter yod, it is, brothers and sisters, a pay yod verb. With that, the yod drops in the future tense. With that being the case, we have to explain If the yod drops in the future tense, why do we see it in the Bible in Ezekiel chapter 16 as we see it here? Bold, 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 bold. If this is a peyod verb, why do we still see the yod in there if a peynoon, pardon me, a peyod verb drops the yod? Is because of this in this case. This yod that we see here serves as he, whatever, third person, masculine, singular. And he went out. Wa yetze. Okay? So it would be etze, I will go out. Tetze, you will go out. Let me expound upon this so we can gain something for reasonable purposes. Thank you again, brothers and sisters, for the time. All right, I'm going to write some words here with this. All right. And we're going to go back down here and we'll make another empty aspect, if we will. Okay. If there's any questions or comments concerning what we're talking about, please do not hesitate to ask such. All right. Please do not hesitate to ask such a question or so in what we're going over. All right. Pardon 1 second. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. I had to make sure that my internet connection was on and charging so it won't cut off as it's done before in the past. All right. Now, let's look at this word here. All right. Titze means you will go out. All right. And we want to expound and make that bigger. All right. This comes from the root word yatza, meaning in root to go out. Now, why do I want to go over this particular case, brothers and sisters? Because you have the letter Yod, the letter Zadeh, the letter Aleph. All right. And I know I'm spending more time than, say, quote, regular on this one, but there is, brothers and sisters, a reason why. Okay. So let's go back to this. All right. So we have here going back to 2 times New Roman. Okay. Now, you see the Tau, the Zadeh, and the Aleph. That is you will. This is the future tense aspect. Will means future tense. Bold, 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 bold. Right? Now remember when we went over these notes here regarding the pay noon verb, and it said pay yod verb. I'm so sorry. Where it says that the yod drops in the future tense. That is shown here with the word tetzeh, because you don't see no yod in that. Bold, not bold, 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 bold. All right. There is no yod in this particular word here. And I'm going to recopy this and speak upon it even more so. And let's just enlarge this right here. And Just make this Times New Roman. Okay. And we want to make the font, in this case, not so high. All right. Thank you for the time. This is a future tense word. And you notice, brothers and sisters, there's no yod in it. That's what I wanted to show. Though it's root here, shown here with the yod, the zadeh, and the aleph, bold, not bold, 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 bold. It drops off in the future tense as we see here. That's what I wanted to talk about. Now, because of biblical Hebrew, brothers and sisters, you have it to where this word here, yet say, means he will go out. All right. This word here, and we're going to make another aspect of it shown like that. This word here, yetzeh, means he will go out. Sorry about that. All right. So what can we gather from that? Sorry about that. He will go out. The while consecutive, as we've been pointing out, that normal future tense word becomes into its past tense. So we want to emphasize that. Sorry about that. No, I needed to take that out. Sorry about that. Let's go back. Doom, 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 doom. All right, the copy and paste wants to give me a hard time, but we're going to do what it do. All right, let's move on. All right. That word yetse comes from the word yatzah. Yatzah meaning en route to go out. Yetse means he will go out. So let's go back, if we will, all right, to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 4. Wayetse lak shem bagoyim ba ya yek for your beauty. Yafeh meaning beauty. Ki kalilhu, for it was glorious or perfected. Ba hadari ashel samti alayik, through my honor or through my splendor or through my glory. Hadar meaning to glorify or to respect or to honor. Ashel samti alayik. And this is the other and last thing we want to go over in this particular case with the time allotted. All right. So let's look at this, brothers and sisters. Let's look at this word here. Oh, that's not the word. We finished with you, Yetse. We went out from that. We're on the other word. All right. This one here. Sorry about that. Samti, meaning I placed, I put, I gave. All right. For a male or female, can say Samti. All right. What can we gather, brothers and sisters, from that particular case, if we will? This is called, and I want to write this in notes. This verb is a ayin yod verb. This verb is when, pardon me, this form of the verbs is when the letter yod is the second root letter. The yod drops in the past tense. So what are we saying in that particular case? Let's show this here. Got to go back to the board before we close out with this one, right? And we see, boom, the letter here, here, and here. Seem. Meaning to put, place, or give. So Samti is I gave or I put or I placed. All right. So when we go back, say here to verse here, I shall Samti, which I have put, which I have placed alayik, meaning upon you. All right. Now alayik means upon you, like alekha would be to a male. All right. So now this verb here, and we want to show it larger, is the root, seen. What happens is, as we are stating, this verb is an iron yod verb. This form of the verbs is when the letter yod is the second root letter. So we want to show this color coded in a red. That second root letter shows this verb here to be what is referred to as an iron yod verb. And it drops in the past tense. So now where we see Samti said by either a male or a female, it means I placed, I put, I gave. That's a past tense matter. So these are things we just want to point out, brothers and sisters, for edification purposes. All right. So we went over a couple of things with the aspect of verbs and nouns and what they like to call irregular, which we don't call it in here that. All right. My number is 908 587 4841. Email is yyisrael22@yahoo.com. All right. If there's any questions concerning this, please do not hesitate to email, do not hesitate to text or call. If I miss it, I'm going to get back as soon as possible. If you call me private, I'm not going to pick up. All right. So just want that to be noted for reasonable purposes. My number again is 908 Tisha FS Shimona 587. Kamisha Shimona Shiba 4841. Arba Shimona Arba Echad. All right. So just want to point that out. The email, Y as in Yeshaya, Y Yisrael, YISRAEL 22@yahoo.com. Okay. Are there any questions concerning what we have gone over? Please let me know. All right. We went over the Labash and Malbush. We went over the qual stem and the Hefil stem. We went over the kaf at the end of a noun shows possession. That possession means mine's, yours, his, hers. The kaf at the end of a verb means it is a pronoun, meaning your. Pardon me, meaning you. The pronoun in that case is you, is what they refer to as the object pronoun. All right. Here we have the cited scripture here. Here we have Yadayik, this kasofit, showing it here as the possessive. Okay. Then we went over the cited scripture and the notes. All right. Wa'etin, as we see here, pay noon verb, a verb that has the first letter as the letter noon, drops in the future tense. Etin means I will give. Okay. Then we went over the word ozen, which is a noun. A noun, all right, meaning ear. Then we have he'ezin, a verb meaning to hear. So ani ma'azin means I am hearing. All right. Many times people hear the word shama and say, okay, shama means to hear. But the word shama, brothers and sisters, literally means to listen or to understand. So when we say Shema Yisrael, Ya Eloheinu, Ya Echad, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. It really is saying, understand, O Israel, the Most High is one in Deuteronomy 6, verse 4. All right. The most so Hebrew way of saying hear as a verb comes from the root word he'ezin, whereas the word shama, which is spelled, I want to go back to the board for this one. All right. Is this sheen? Then we got the mem. Then we have our friend here, the letter ayin. All right. I'm going to copy and paste that part. And we have it here. Shama means to listen or understand. Also then hear. All right. Just want to point that out. Okay. So once it came down to that. So we have the cited scripture here, Zahab meaning gold, Kesef meaning silver, raiment, Malbush, we already went over that. Malbush, garment, cloth, a noun, Labash, a verb meaning to wear. All right, Labash to Malbush. This mem serves as a prefix in verbs and nouns, meaning of or from. So from this particular Lebush, which means that which is worn, because that's what the word lebush means. You get malabush, which means a garment, because a garment is that which is worn. That's how Hebrew works, all right? Then we have the cited scripture. Then the word vayetze from the word yatzah, meaning to go out. And we have, and it went out in this case. Here, expounding upon the while consecutive verb is what causes the verb in the future tense to be in the past tense. And the past tense into the future tense. This is commonly used in biblical Hebrew. Okay? Other thing we want to sit there and talk about and emphasize on, if we will, brothers and sisters, any verb that starts with the letter yod is a pay yod verb. Any verb that starts with the letter noon is a pay noon verb. With that, the yod or noon, which it starts with, drops in the future tense as expounded upon. All right. Take zay, a future tense word, you will go out. This comes from the root word yatsa, because remember, the yod is not going to be in there, even though yod is in the root of it, because it drops out in the future tense when it's a pay yod verb. Pardon me, same premise with the word here. Natan, as we see here, pay noon verb becomes etain. That first noon drops out. That's how pay noon and pay yod verb work. All right, so we have that, those notes there. Tetze, then we have samti for a male or female saying I gave. All right, so I put, I gave. This verb is an ayin yod verb. This form of the verbs is when the letter yod is the second root letter, and we highlighted that in red. All right, somebody typed in, so a word changes from future tense to past tense. Wayetse from Yetzeh, he will go out and he went out. Yes. And that is because Bat Yisrael, the reason why that is due to the fact of the while consecutive. All right. I try to time the Hebrew class that I do on Shabbat so it won't conflict with the timing of the brother Moreh Yitzhak, who operates with the channel called Shomrei Habrit. So I'm going to end the class now because, to my knowledge, they start at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time or at 4. So I'm going to end it now. If there are, as stated, any questions concerning this, I can be reached at 908-587-4841. But I don't want to go into the timing because I spoke with the brother Maury Yivtak about this. So it won't conflict with the teachings that him and the brother Maury Baruch do. All right. Giving honor and praise to Yah, creator, maker of heaven and earth. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Subscribe to the channel Moreh Yeshaya Hebrew Lessons and the channel Shomrei Habrit. I'm going to type that here real quick and then close out. Shomrei Habrit. Subscribe to that and this Yes LOL channel. All right. The brother Maury Yivtak is a good friend of mine, and been somebody I knew for like over, let me see, I'm 41 now, since I was what, 15, 16, something like that. But anyway, giving honor and praise unto Yah, we're going to close out. Most High bless. Do not hesitate to email, call, or text. Shalom.